In the quiet suburbs of Chicago during the 1970s, there lived a man who seemed almost perfect. He was friendly, successful, and respected in his community. He attended local events, hosted parties, and even entertained children while dressed as a clown. To neighbors and friends, he was known as a hardworking businessman and a helpful member of society. But beneath this friendly mask hid one of the most horrifying secrets in criminal history. A secret buried under the floor of his own home. This is the story of John Wayne Gacy, the man who became known as the Killer Clown.
In light of all that has been used against me in the media, they've created this fantasy monster image, and it's been going on for the last 12 years. And I've ever had no comment, and I had no need to talk to the media for the simple reason that they were looking for sensationalism and they were looking for the monster.
When you say fantasy monster image, what are you referring to by that?
Well, the idea that I'm a homosexual thrill killer and all that garbage, and they painted this image of me that like I strolled down the streets and stalked young boys and slaughtered them. Hell, if you could see my schedule, my work schedule, you know damn well that I was never out there.
John Wayne Gacy was born on March 17, 1942, in Chicago, Illinois. From the outside, his childhood looked normal, but inside the family home, life was much darker. Gacy's father was known for being extremely strict and often abusive. He frequently criticized his son, calling him weak and worthless. These constant insults left deep emotional scars. As a child, Gacy struggled with health problems and often felt different from other boys his age. He tried desperately to earn his father's approval, but no matter what he did, it was never enough. This constant rejection would shape his personality in ways that no one fully understood at the time. As Gacy grew older, he became very skilled at hiding his true personality and learned how to appear charming and trustworthy. In his early adult life, he became involved in community activities and even joined local political organizations. He worked hard and eventually started his own contracting business, which became quite successful to many people around him. John Wayne Gacy seemed like the perfect neighbor. He was known for hosting large parties at his house, and he was active in his community. And sometimes he dressed as a clown called Pogo the Clown to entertain children at events and hospitals. The image was cheerful and harmless, but behind that costume was a man living a secret life. Long before the world knew his name, Gacy had already begun committing serious crimes. In the late 1960s, while living in another state, he was arrested for assaulting a teenage boy. He was sentenced to prison, but managed to present himself as a model inmate. After serving part of his sentence, he was released earlier than expected. Many believed he had changed, but the truth was far more disturbing. When Gacy returned to Illinois, he began building a new life while hiding dangerous impulses. During the 1970s, several young men in the Chicago area began disappearing. Many of them were teenagers or young adults looking for work. Some had been seen near construction sites. Others had last been spotted talking to a friendly contractor who offered them jobs. That contractor was John Wayne Gacy. Gacy would often invite young men to his home, sometimes promising them temporary work or payment. But once they entered the house, things took a horrifying turn. Inside his home, Gacy would lure victims into a false sense of security. Then he would trap them using handcuffs and restraints. Many victims were tortured before being murdered. What happened next made the case even more disturbing. Instead of disposing of the bodies elsewhere, Gacy hid many of them in the crawl space beneath his house. For years, Gacy continued living his normal life while hiding an unimaginable secret beneath his feet. Neighbors noticed strange smells coming from his house. Gacy explained it away as plumbing issues or sewage problems. No one suspected the truth.
Gacy's out there and he put a hole in it, and he run the holes out in the street and he started draining out the water, pumping the water out. While he's pumping the water out, and that terrible smell coming out, Steve. I said, "Hey, John," I said, "what do you got, a bunch of dead bodies over there?" He says, "What do you mean?" "What do I mean? It smells like a bunch of dead bodies."
Under the house, the crawl space slowly filled with the bodies of his victims. Eventually, there were so many that he began disposing of some victims in nearby rivers. Yet somehow, he continued to avoid suspicion. His friendly personality and active social life helped him maintain the illusion that nothing was wrong. Everything began to unravel in 1978 when a teenage boy disappeared shortly after telling his mother he was going to meet a contractor about a job. Police traced the last known contact of the boy back to John Wayne Gacy. Investigators began watching Gacy more closely. At first, he continued to act calm and cooperative, but detectives soon noticed inconsistencies in his story. The investigation slowly built momentum. Eventually, police obtained a search warrant for his house. What they discovered would shock the entire country. When investigators searched the crawl space beneath Gacy's home, they found human remains, then more remains and more. The number kept increasing. By the time the investigation ended, authorities had discovered the bodies of dozens of victims connected to John Wayne Gacy. The quiet suburban home had become one of the most infamous crime scenes in American history. The man who once entertained children as a clown had been hiding a nightmare beneath his own floor. The trial of John Wayne Gacy became one of the most widely followed criminal cases in the United States. His defense attempted to argue that he suffered from severe mental illness.
People don't want to know the truth and the honesty of it. If they want to be convinced or brainwashed into what they believe, then fine, and go ahead and kill me. But vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, because you will have executed somebody that didn't commit the crime.
Those are the words of John Wayne Gacy, pleading innocence from death row at Menard State Penitentiary 13 years after being convicted of his crimes. The most notorious serial killer of our time.
When they paint the image that I was this monster who picked up like these altar boys along the street and swatted them like flies, I said, this is ludicrous. I don't want to go into the other, the five that I know about. Just take it that I didn't, but this is not one that I killed, so I don't know nothing about it. The little bit that I know about him is that he was an employee of mine. See, when you look about this recall business, and
I'm not prosecutor, John, but you just
I know you're not. Wait a minute.
Is not one that you killed, which suggests that maybe in fact.
But prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence connecting him to the crimes. Witnesses described the victims who had disappeared after meeting him. Investigators explained the horrifying discoveries made under the house. In the end, the jury found him guilty. John Wayne Gacy was sentenced to death. For years after his conviction, Gacy remained in prison while appealing his sentence. During that time, he even painted disturbing artwork, including images of clowns. Finally, in 1994, the sentence was carried out. The man who once fooled an entire community had reached the end of his story, but the memory of his crimes would never be forgotten. The story of John Wayne Gacy remains one of the most chilling cases in criminal history. It reminds us that evil does not always appear the way we expect. Sometimes it hides behind a smile, behind a friendly neighbor, or even behind the painted face of a clown. And that is what made John Wayne Gacy so terrifying. Because for years, the monster was hiding.